Hello, and welcome to Talk Dragon Ball, where I want to talk to you about anything, you guessed it, Dragon Ball, from Ball to Z and everything in between. I'm your host, Kyokai1994, and I want to talk to you about a subject that I know we are all very fond of, and that is the Dragon Ball franchise. I will be telling you how I feel about the franchise, why I love it personally, and some of my plans that I have for this channel in the future. So let's get the ball rolling. I love the show and its nostalgic factor for me. I'm in my 20s and I've been watching this show practically my whole life, at least all of my life that I can really remember. This show just makes my brain explode with chemical reactions. It makes a smile come to my face and joy come to my heart no matter what my age is. I grew up with my family being in the military, so I moved around a lot. And for a few years I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. This was my first exposure to the series. Not being a speaker of Japanese, I had no idea what exactly was going on, but I really enjoyed it and made my mom tape everything she could that involved this world. When I got back to the States, I discovered the VHS home releases that had been put out in English and felt deeper in love with the series through tape-breaking reviews. I then watched the airing episodes on Toonami and was excited for every new episode I could see. The obsession only grew more and more, and now can be shown through this hobby I'm starting with the channel. I want to share my love for the series and others that feel the same way as I do. The Dragon Ball franchise just always makes me think of the good old days like nostalgia things are supposed to do. I have to come out and just state the obvious and say that the series is just so damn good. This is why I choose to enjoy the Dragon Ball franchise in any way that I can. There being so many mediums in which to do that, it makes endless ways to absorb the series and interact with these characters. The Funimation dub, Kai, and the Japanese dub are just a few to name. You can also view them in different qualities such as Blu-ray, the colored bricks, or the holy grail of all, the Dragon boxes. And there are also quite a few ways to read the manga, like the 3-in-1s, the bigs, even the single comics from way back in the day, if anybody really remembers those. There are also plenty of games out there like Budokai series and the Raging Blast series that give you ways to interact with these characters. Budokai 3 and Xenoverse happen to just be my two favorite games. The parodies by Team 4-Star bring different views to the story that always put a new way to see these characters, and I love that. After going through the whole series in several different ways and following the characters through all their adventures, you can say I've put a lot of time and money into this story. I love seeing the huge, overwhelming, overlapping world that this one man created, and I love watching it unfold. Putting all the epic and fantastic fights aside, when you get down to the core of the story, all the values and lessons, such as trying to see the good in all people, no matter how many times you succeed, there's always a greater test out there to be faced. It's just positive for you to invest time into this story and learn more about it. You may even learn something about yourself. Even with all the plot holes and differences between the manga and anime series and all the fights in the community, Toriyama's original story is a fantastic tale and he deserves all the love and appreciation that he gets for it. I love seeing the inspirations that cause Toriyama to make and form situations in his story. It is interesting to see all the cultures that he takes from to make his tale. There are a number of inspirations you can see throughout the series. Obvious ones like the first chapter of the manga Dragon Ball, Tale 1, Bloomers and the Monkey King, being very, very loosely based on the old Chinese tale Journey to the West. Some real-life fighters that characters are based on that show up throughout the series, and even Western movies that inspired Toriyama for whole sagas in the Dragon Ball franchise. I will dive more in depth into the influences in Dragon Ball later in the future. I'm a sucker for comedy in all forms, and that is something the Dragon Ball franchise does not disappoint on. Comedy runs throughout the whole thing, stitching it together with the action. Comedy is the catalyst of the series, and it puts the characters into weird situations that they have to fight their way out of. Plenty of puns, plenty of slapstick. I feel the majority of people who watch the series underappreciate the comedy in it, and I definitely encourage people to rewatch Dragon Ball, and specifically the Dragon Ball portion, and realize the humor in it. Obvious things such as the name schemes for the characters, mostly being related to food, to straight out slapstick. It is what brings the sense of humor to the whole series and contrasts great to the fights and serious portions of the show, forming a well-rounded show. When you get down to it, Toriyama is a comedy writer who happened to write an action manga. I know this is the internet, and I really hope I'm speaking to a truer fan base of the series than I normally run into, even though I have seen some of the community and it has no idea what the fuck they're talking about. So in that case, this may not apply to you. But I find it very upsetting when I personally run into people in the street in social situations while out there that claim to know a lot about the series, and it seems all they remember are power levels and a couple major fights. They disagree on the facts that are on the page in black and white. This is the reason I started this channel, to find the ones who are truly enjoying the series and want to drive deeper into the series and open up the layers that this story has. I just want to make it clear that I don't hate the fights. just frustrated that people I meet don't choose to go more in depth into the show, and they get what I feel is a very shallow and misdirected view on the series and all of the characters. Yes, I do realize that I was just talking about how much I dislike it when people only talk about the fights. But it is a big part of the franchise, so I will be speaking on it as well. The fights are great and even fantastic at times. So much so that throughout my whole time watching the series, just like I know some of you watching have wanted to jump out of my seat and start training to be just as strong as Goku and Vegeta, maybe even Kudadin, trying to transform into fucking Super Saiyans several times. The epic 6-episode fights and transformations are what helped make the show so popular. So you can't ignore them. The stakes are always raised with each new foe and fighting made harder by each new transformation. It drives the story to an unseeable end. I do want to try to open people's minds that haven't already been open to everything that the show consists of. This just being a video to tell you some of my thoughts on the Dragon Ball franchise. I won't list my favorite fights, but I will do separate videos and go more depth into fights, transformations, and scenes throughout the series. I really hope that you enjoyed the small video of some of the reasons why I love the franchise, and I just wanted to give some of my feedback on how I felt about the series, and I hope you choose to subscribe and stay tuned for future content because it will be coming up, and I promise you that. I also hope you comment below so we can have interesting conversations about anything Dragon Ball related. You guys can reach me on my AskFM or on here. I'll be messaging back to everybody. So goodbye for now, but I hope to see you next time around on Dragon Talk.